E360 TV proudly presents Messages of Inspirational Stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donnaguinouard, producer and host, Jimgrant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guinois Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Messages of Inspirational Stories. Today is Friday, and we are talking about women in leadership.
Mm-hmm. You're exactly right. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today on the Messages of Inspirational Stories, because our TV show is proudly brought to you by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com. And Donna and I both know the power of the 6minutewebinar.com, because how many times have we clicked on a link or got an email or something, we saw an ad and I'd like to know more about that. And they go on and on and on with all the problems or, whatever they solve. And you go like, well, I already understand that. Tell me what you can do for me. The 6-minute webinar, within 6 minutes, you can create a powerful message to be able to get your client interested in what you offer. Yep. And in addition to that, it has a powerful close, a call to action to encourage them to say yes, all within 6 minutes or less.
Absolutely.
And you can start right out saying, during this 6-minute presentation, I will share with you, boom, 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 the bullet points. It works beautiful.
It's brilliant.
If you'd like to know more about it, just email us here at the inspiration at e360tv.com, as you see there on the marquee. And we also want to encourage you to send us shout outs of someone. It could be a group of people. It could be, whoever you want to give a shout out to. It could be a family member.
It can be your animal.
That's right. Say, Rover, pay attention here, boy.
That's right. That's right. Because, they're part of our family too.
Mm-hmm. They sure are. And we'll be glad to share your shout out here on the TV show live, and just email it to inspiratione360tv.com. And today, Donna, I think we're going to give a shout out to a group of young ladies, are we not?
We are. So our shout out today, folks, is to all the young ladies 18 and under who are just beginning their life, their journey. And, some of them are, actively working, get a little side money, right? Help pay for their car or what have you. But a lot of them are looking into their future. And so this is for you. This is a shout out, because today our show is obviously women in leadership. And so our shout out is to you, because you are needed in leadership roles. And don't ever let anybody tell you different.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And don't ever let anyone tell you, because you were born poor or you don't have money. Look at all the young entrepreneurs, men and boys and girls, who have created their own business, or they have created their own nonprofit, or they've created a cause to help make their community a better place to live. Absolutely. So take encouragement from that. And we're going to be sharing some great things about the importance of women in leadership. And Donna, if I may, I'd like to give out a little, not necessarily a shout out, but to all the teachers in my life, because all my teachers were females on up to the 7th grade. And they really made a positive impression on me. I've mentioned this lady before, Mr. Jewel Blanton. And when they named her Jewel, that was the perfect name for her, because, think about all the teachers in your life, that have made such a positive impact. Because, people that become teachers, they have a heart, don't they, Donna?
They do. You know, I still remember three of my grade school: Mrs. Love, Mrs. LeBaron, and Mrs. Minky, who was our librarian.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, those impacts to remember back that far.
Yeah. And I'm talking 7 plus 8 decades or whatever.
You know, I mean, seriously, I mean, I've always loved to read, and she never squished, my librarian never squished that in me. Right. Because I wanted to read books that were not of my age group, because I could read them and understand them. So, you know, in 4th or 5th grade, I'm reaching for Little Women and Little Men. And those are some really thick books.
Oh, yeah. You're exactly right.
You know, they all make a huge difference in our life.
And when I think about those ladies in my life, at, you know, Mrs. Edwards, Mrs. Toms, Mrs., you know, Blanton and all of those, they had a bunch of kids in their room. And my goodness, we were all ignorant and undereducated, you know, and the way they demonstrated their leadership as far as patience. And they demonstrated love too. They loved their job, and they had a love for us, and they had a love for learning. So to all you modern day teachers out there, you know, I'm just going to salute you right now, because it's so important to be able to shape a young mind in the positive direction.
Absolutely. So, you know, we're going to jump into this about the importance of women in leadership, and why is it time to shine. So, you know, this article is really, it's in Goodwin University. It's a wonderful time to be a woman in the United States of America. Barriers that once blocked women's eligibility for leadership roles are being questioned, put on trial, and dismantled daily. Women and those who support them are using their voices and skills to seek greater equality. Though women are equally capable of earning and excelling in leadership roles, a legacy of imbalance in the workplace is slowly being corrected and eradicated. What's the word I want? Eradicated?
Eradicated. Yes, ma'am. That's a good word.
You might have heard the truism, change starts at the top. When forecasting business trends, it can be helpful to examine the nation's most powerful companies. And now this article goes back 2 years. As of 2020, Fortune 500 reported that there were 37 women CEOs in control. That amounts to only 7.4% of CEOs. And yet it demonstrates an impressive increase from just 2 female Fortune 500 leaders 2 years prior in the year 2000. Right? So there was some growth.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it talks also, it shares information about, you know, these gender diverse Fortune 500 companies got wise to the proven business benefits. And according to 2019, an S&P global study firms that women CEOs and CFOs result in excess profits in the sum of trillions of dollars, and increase the stock price performance over that market average. And higher gender diversity amongst the company's board of directors also associated with profit, with an increase in profit. And Donna, if I may, I've probably said this before, I think, on the air, but in business meetings I've been into, you know, guys have a tendency to, you know, we want to dream, we want to think big, and the ladies in there give us that strong anchor and says, okay, how will we get from first gear into second gear? How does the clutch work? How can we get the cash register ring? That brings everything back down to grassroots reality. And guys, you've heard me say this before, and it's true that more gold during the gold rush was mined in the canyons of a mine, of our male mind, that ever came out of a hole. So what does that tell us, guys?
Well, and as a rule, men have a tendency, when they have an idea, to just bulldoze right through to it.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
right. Yeah. So they just want to go, okay, I see this and this is going to but there's so many parts and pieces that have to happen along the way.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's where women come in and say, okay, that's awesome. And I see that vision.
Absolutely.
But the
Because,
reality is it's still a vision. And therein lies the truth.
oh, yeah. And that brings me back to the reality of creation, because even before sin came on planet Earth, God looked down there and he saw Adam, and he didn't say he needed a woman, he needed a wife, he needed a sweetheart. He looked down there and said, that boy needs some help. He needs a helper. And that's exactly right, because who knows? He's a guy, he doesn't have to worry about bills or anything. Him and the, chimpanzees might have been throwing tangerines at one another. You know how he is, That's why he said he needs a helper. And helper is a wonderful term, I think. And we should help each other, because we're all brothers and sisters from different mothers, and we need to love and respect each other and respect each other's opinion. That's critical.
Well, this next part of this article is still disturbing a little for me, Jim. It talks about how education may play a role in why women are getting hired for jobs previously reserved for men. The Pew Research Center showed that by 2019, women had matched men in the number of workers in the labor force with a bachelor's degree, 29.5 million women to 29.3 million men. However, having a bachelor's degree for men puts his median earnings at $74,900, while for college-educated women, that median is $51,600. And there is still so much work to be done to improve the gender wage gap. Now, that's where I still have issues with this.
Oh, yeah, because it should be. I think the military did a great job on handling the men and women in uniform, because if we were told to go to our POC, a point of contact, and all we got is their rank and last name, we don't know if the person is going to be a male or female, black or white or whatever. We just know that that person there is capable and can help us accomplish our mission. And when it comes to equal pay for equal, employment, I'm all for that, because it should not be higher for men and a little bit lower for women. It's because it's just wrong.
It is wrong. And
one word, wrong.
I guarantee you I'm not the only one who's still pissed off by that. Because, what makes your education, if a male and a female have the same business degree, right? And absolutely everything is parallel. And what makes the education for one worth more in the job market than the other? And quite frankly, that's just downright discrimination, Jim.
Oh, yeah, it really
is. That is gender discrimination. So what I'm saying here is, ladies, don't put up with that. You know what? You're worth what you're worth. And don't be afraid to ask for that.
Sure, absolutely. And, we've made some steps in the right direction, some strides in the right direction, but there's room for improvement. So you young girls out there who are getting ready to enter into the workforce, what Donna is saying when she says, know your worth, that is this: do not be a beggar at a rich man's gate. That's the best way I can put it, because when you demonstrate that you're worthy, and then you instill the fear that you may go, if they don't hire you, you may go somewhere else. That is powerful. That is powerful, because if you have a good education like the bachelor's degree we're talking about, and you got the knowledge and expertise, somebody out there will pay you what you're worth. And you don't have to be a beggar at a rich man's gate.
Right. Absolutely.
Can I get an amen on that? Or a hallelujah?
Well, the good news is that since women are now as well or more educated than men in the workplace, little can stand in the way of their rise to leadership positions.
Mm.
More organizations are now looking to women to provide valuable leadership qualities related to communication, which is an essential component of successful business practice. Communication is just one of the soft skills that bolsters a professional's emotional intelligence. Other components of the emotional intelligence include critical thinking, a positive work ethic, and strength in working with others.
And you know, I just thought about something, and I wished I'd have thought about it earlier. I could have looked it up. But one of the things that marketers are starting to realize, you see more and more women in marketing because people trust women to be honest and truthful. They demonstrate that. And I'm not saying guys don't demonstrate it, but what I'm saying is that they're smartening up on the marketing side, because if a lady is talking about a product and says this product will work, this is what it did for me, and this is what it can do for you, it's believable,
Right.
more so than a guy. And that's because us men, and we can name a lot of them here, which we're not going to because this is a positive show. But how many men you know has been, went to jail for, these, let's say, raising money for this cause and then putting the money in their pocket.
Right.
That's a Ponzi scheme, right? And so, I mean, so we got to own that, guys. Credibility, we have to own that. And we have to set the standard for ourselves, just like the ladies are going to set the standard for themselves. And the beauty of it is nobody can hold you back from you setting your standard as being a credible person,
Right.
trustworthy, honest, because they want to know you, like you, and trust you. And ladies bring that to the party a lot easier than men do, I think. Would you agree with that, Donna? Or
I really would. And, I think the other thing that we need to talk about, and since we've talked a little bit about the young women out there going into leadership roles and starting their journey, understanding that being a strong female in your convictions and in how you do your work ethic is not it's not a negative trait. Now, understand, and I say this for a reason, because there are many, many men still out there who do not know how to handle a woman with a strong personality.
That's right.
And it scares the living bejeebers out of them.
It sure does. You see it in relationships. You see it in the workforce. You see it anywhere and everywhere on planet Earth. That's just the bottom line.
Absolutely. And, understanding that when you have that, in my opinion, is a gift. Right? It's a gift. You know who you are. You stand, with what you know and in your integrity. And it cannot be manipulated.
That's exactly right. And I didn't realize this, but based on what I said, ladies have more of an emotion to them when they put their heart in the stuff. And this article goes right into the next the segment there of emotional intelligence ultimately leads to better decision making, which is a key skill for all leaders. And that fits right into marketing, because the emotional intelligence that the female person demonstrates on a product, in a commercial or whatever, it leads to better decision making. That's powerful, isn't it, Donna?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I like this, that it says in our society, girls consistently receive training from adults that empathy is the essence of being female. Empathy helps strengthen communication skills in new ways. Empathy also helps women consider multiple perspectives and come up with creative solutions for business.
They certainly do.
But it also comes up with creative solutions for life in general, Jim.
Yes, it does. Because so many times, even with us, me and you, we're talking about something, And then you'll say something, I go like, wow, that's grassroots reality. I skipped over that. Because sometimes, I'm on the lake and the wind's blowing. I'm like a speedboat hitting the white caps. And Donna's back there on the skis. She says, hey, you need to slow down a little bit.
I don't want to fall off.
There you go. But realistically, it's a good yin and yang balance if you have the right attitude and you have the proper respect.
Right.
And that goes for, men and men, women and women. It goes all the way across the board from the alpha to the omega. That is the foundation of being able to have a great mastermind. And that's what we do here on this show. That's why our show is so popular. We don't promote things. We don't do this. We don't try to, sell stuff and that sort of thing. But the thing we do is that we provide information that's important for people in life. And that was the driving force behind the show, wasn't it, Donna?
It really was. It really was. It was about being able to find things that maybe you don't have time to find, that you want to know about. And the beautiful thing is every day when we do this show, every single day, we learn something.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We learn something new every single day from what we're talking about.
You're exactly right, because when I was an instructor, for example, in preparing for a class, I forget, I used to keep track of my time. I think it was like 4 hours. I would prepare for something I already knew, but I would study for 4 hours to give a 45-minute block of instruction. And I'll guarantee you it's 100% impossible not to learn something yourself, and you'll get more out of it, chances are, than maybe the students. You hope that's not the case, but that's just the way it is because you've invested in yourself. And that is critical. And what Donna says is very, very true, because a lot of times we're, sharing information. And also, I'd like to mention this too, is that we never script a show. We've said this before, because the energy that's generated in the conversation, it will bring thoughts and ideas to our minds, because there's someone out there in TV land that needs to hear it. That's why we're here. That's why we do the show.
Well, scripting, number one, is boring.
Yeah.
It's really boring. And it would bore me. It would bore Jim. And I know darn good and well it would bore you too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And, Donna, we're just so thankful for all the folks out there in TV land, because when we switched over to the programs that we're doing now, the daily programs, we were blown away. We had a good show. We had good followings. We had good, viewership and all that. But our viewership increased over 10 minutes of average watch time. And people, when you tell people that's in this industry, you know what they say? Wow.
Right.
Really? What'd you do? I said, well, it's all Donna's fault. I had nothing to do with it myself.
I'll listen to you. Listen to you. Oh my goodness. Well, Jim, do you want to talk about this other part about the power of perception?
The Power of Perception, that is a book that was written by Dr. Sean Andrews. And as the author, she explains that fewer women are in leadership not because of a lack of skills. Let that soak in. You're not in leadership. Women in leadership are not because of a lack of skills, but it's because of social perception of leaders. And our society trains men to be assertive, self-confident, decisive, and competitive. Historically, there are also qualities that have been associated with leadership, creating a de facto exclusion of women from leading roles. And that is changing, which I'm happy to say, because it has been assumed that women are just not leadership material. And I got to stop right there. I know for a fact that is a blatant lie.
It is.
It's not a myth. It's a blatant lie.
And there are still men that we see today who have that perception, right? Yeah. And the funny part is, well, if we're so dadgum down on the totem pole, then how come it is that we're the ones who do a lot of rearing of the next generation?
Mm,
Isn't that a leadership
yeah,
role?
it
Having
really
babies
truly
and
is.
rearing them? Because,
Hmm.
I have always said, Jim, that no matter what I do in my life, if I screwed up raising my kids, and I was a single mother, and if I screwed up raising my kids, nothing else in my life mattered.
Hmm. That's true. That's very true. And people ask me why I stayed so long in the military. 28 years was in the reserves, and the last 28 years. And me being an instructor, the reason why I stayed in was the people, the men and women that made up the 3rd Battalion, 95th Training Division. We were headquartered out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I can tell you from experience and just being there for all those years, just about a decade, a little over a decade, almost 12 years, whenever we had an issue or problem, we just came together, and men and women both would volunteer equally, and everybody was respected and loved. And we just made everything, it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. And that's the why I stayed in, was because of the people. And that's critical for you in this day and time, because you got to associate yourself and be with people who are like minded, who love who you are, respect who you are, and most importantly, promote you when you're the better person for the job.
Right?
Amen. There's
Amen.
a lot of men out there who realize that and recognize that. And for them, I salute them. But we still got some work to do there, guys. We got to clean out the cobwebs of our thinking. We got too much junk in there hanging around.
Right.
And
This next portion talks about providing an avenue for women in leadership.
mm,
And so this is really an interesting portion of this article, because it says the truth is society still accepts that women spend more time on childcare than their male counterparts, which makes it more challenging to excel in the workplace. According to a McKinsey study, since a pandemic, in a 2-parent household where both parents work, mothers are twice as likely to spend 5 or more hours a day on chores. That amounts to a part-time job. Not surprisingly, many women in leadership get there because they found avenues for education and career advancement that allow for flexibility without sacrificing quality. Now, Jim, I want to stop that right there,
you bet.
because it is true. What we do at home, right? And I see this breaking more and more today than ever before. But it used to be you had gender specific roles, right? And that when a woman went to work and then she'd come home and she'd make dinner and do the laundry and start the vacuuming and get the dusting done and get the kids ready for bed and still worked. And that is a full-time job.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is a full-time job. And the roles are being, I'm so thankful for it, but they're being dispersed more evenly between spouses. And that's so important, because there is absolutely, it is ridiculous, in my opinion, just because you're a female or you're male, that one does more work than the other. This is about team. That's what being married, having a partnership, whoever your partner is, right? Your partnership is about being a team. And that team means you divide and disperse in an even way to make for the common good of your home, your household.
You're absolutely correct. And as you were talking there, it reminded me of Napoleon Hill, who in his book recorded that he, of course, in Think and Grow Rich, and also when he co-authored the book with W. Clement Stone, the master, no, not the master key to riches, but the Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude is the name of the book. They talked about when Napoleon Hill was going around collecting information to write his book, Think and Grow Rich, and co-author the one with W. Clement Stone. He mentioned that the 500 richest men, they had 2 unique things that really just stood head and shoulders above everything else. One, they had a great mother. And two, even though they were struggling, they had the courage to take one more step. And when it comes to having a great mother, that is the foundation of life, in my opinion, to set the standard. They set the cornerstone there. And to be able to go the extra mile, we covered one time, year and a half ago on the show about S.B. Fuller. Mm-hmm. He was a young man from Louisiana. He was a black man. His family was just sharecroppers. And he had a very unusual mother. His mother had only known a hand-to-mouth existence as a sharecropper's wife. They were very, very poor. They were dirt poor. And she used to talk to her son. She used to, little SB, she says, SB, don't you ever, ever let me hear you blame God that we're poor. She says, we are poor because your father has never had a desire to be anything else. That is such a powerful statement. It really changed his life. Mm-hmm. And we went through how many businesses he had created and owned and the struggles he overcome. But that was the thing that was blazed in his mind. And with that, telling that story, you folks out there, especially you young girls that's tuning in, you should be able to embrace that and say, you can be anything you want to be, because that's what she told SB. Mm-hmm. And the only thing this poor lady had ever seen was poverty.
Right.
She didn't have an education, but she was very, very wise. And a wise woman is worth her weight in gold and then some.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I keep this up, I might get a raise for the show's over.
But it is frustrating to me that it is always expected, even though we're seeing some of the change, it's still about, how many children do you have? That's a number one in an interview. Do they ask that of men? Right?
Not
because
at all.
They want to know, when you're going to have to be home. When your children are sick, are you going to need to be home with them? Well, yeah, it depends on the age, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Depends on the age. Mm-hmm. So when my children were little, I was blessed to be able to stay home. But when my youngest was around 9, I went back to work. And that was a difficult time. But you know what? I made it work. I made it work.
Absolutely. And, you hear ladies talk about, I'm a mother and I'm this and that. You never hear men say, well, I'm a father and I'm this and that. They seem to, leave the family. I don't want to say leave the family behind, but they don't talk about the family. We just don't, Right. And when it comes to women in leadership, my goodness gracious, one lady that I always had a lot of respect for and did not follow her politically, but you got to tip your hat to this lady. And that was the late, great Margaret Thatcher. Because you talk about tearing down stereotypes, and she's one of many women who have done this. In other areas, they become queens and so forth. But she was the first, listen to this, the first female prime minister. And she is also, to date, the longest serving prime minister in the 20th century. Margaret Thatcher served for 3 consecutive terms in office from 1979 until 1990. Her political views and leadership approach was known as Thatcherism. It got her the nickname of being the Iron Lady. But though controversial that she may have been, she promptly ranks very, very high as on the list of one of the best British prime ministers. Now, there's a lot we can talk about right there because she knew her value, she knew her worth, and she knew what she stood for. And I guarantee I don't know for sure, but I would imagine she ran into some male resistance just because she was a female, being the very first prime minister. But she did not, she had such a strong anchor That's how she earned the
Right.
nickname, the Iron Lady. And how many we see men in office that they talk this way over here and they'll talk that way over there. Of course, politicians, male and female, both do that. But I mean, she was just rock solid. She had a
Yes,
rock
she was.
solid belief in who she was, her value, and what she knew to be true. That takes a lot of courage, doesn't it, Donna?
It does, and she was um, a very assertive and strong woman.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, for those of you who are younger than I am and aren't understanding what I'm talking about, she scared the living hell out of a lot of men.
Yeah, she carried an invisible big stick, you might say.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
But also, too, she was a trailblazer.
Yes, and she commanded respect, Jim.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Because what was really unique about her was that you knew where you stood with her.
Right.
You knew where she stood. She wasn't talking one way this week and over there talking another way next week just to be popular. She had the courage to say, this is who I am. This is what I believe in. And well, she was elected 3 consecutive terms. That was pretty incredible. And she set the standard too for a young lady. And she's in New Zealand. And is her first name, would you pronounce that Jacinda?
Jacinda Ardern.
Ardern, yeah. Man.
Yeah.
I think Margaret Thatcher may have set the standard, opened the door for this young lady. What do you think?
I think so. So she was the 40th Prime Minister of New Zealand. And she was born in July of 1980.
Mm-hmm.
And in October 2017, at the age of 37, she became the world's youngest female head of government. She was praised for the way she led her country after the Christchurch mosque shootings in March of 2019 and handled the COVID-19 pandemic. She led her party to victory in the 2020 general elections.
What does that say about her? Because she convinced a lot of men. She was a go-to person. She could get things done. And most importantly, we need her. She's just
right.
And I think Margaret Thatcher may have opened the door there a little bit, but think about, building on these strong women, these women who have morals, values, and ethics, are not afraid to speak up and say, this is who I am. This is where I stand.
Well, she was 17 when she joined the Labour Party.
Yeah.
And at 28, she entered the parliament as its younger sitting MP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very impressive young lady. Very impressive young lady. And think about all the young girls out there who are looking for a mentor. We cover mentorship in one of our programs on Wednesday, and youth in business and that sort of thing. But think about the impact. If you young girls out there, you're looking for a strong, positive mentorship, don't look so much into the land of Hollywood. Look at people like this.
Well, even go into where you're headed in the direction in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And say it's, for a specific business. Because there's a lot of people out there, Jim, say, I'm going to go work for XYZ business.
Mm-hmm.
They hold the things I like and I want to do. You know what? Go and find somebody who maybe could be your mentor and set up an appointment and go talk to him and say, look, my name is, and I'm at this age, and this is what I want to do. I want to be in this business right here. I want to be where you're at. Mm-hmm. I would like to, talk to you as a mentor and have you mentor me. Is that something that you would be willing to do?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because if you ask for help, people are eager to help you. Mm-hmm. And keep them abreast of your progress. If you run into a brick wall, just share it with them, because they will be they'll know, number one, at least you're trying. Everybody wants to help someone that's trying. Nobody wants to continually helping someone that's lazy, you know?
Right.
And there is another young lady I'd like to mention, Sanna Marin. That's Sannamarin. She was born in November 1985, and she's from Finland, and she is Finland's 46th prime minister. And she has previously been on the country's Ministry of Transport and Communication, and she's a member of the Social Democratic Party there. And she was dragged into a controversy about a video of her partying and dancing became viral, with critics accusing her of drug abuse, but she overcame that. Because sometimes people in that arena can get false claims and things like that. But she did not let that waver from her. That's important too, because when you make a mistake, I'm not saying she made a mistake, don't get me wrong, but when you make a mistake, you got to love yourself enough to own up to it, forgive yourself, and say, okay, I'll learn from that lesson. I'm going to drive on. And whatever happened there is I'm not interested in it. But the point of it is, when you run into controversy, and you will run into controversy out there in the world, and it's going to come from both sides, men and women. Mm-hmm. Don't let that destroy your morals, your values, your beliefs, your ethics, your platform you stand on. Because I'll guarantee you, the other two ladies we mentioned, they probably hadn't ran into a few controversies. Would you agree with that, Donna?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, when we run into those obstacles, mm-hmm. and this is for the young ladies out there, but when we run into those obstacles, or people who try and change the way we are, and you mm-hmm. will find that. That's what Jim's mm-hmm. saying. Trust me on this one. Stand mm-hmm. firm in who you are. Because, you know, I look at it like this, and you may look at it different, but my way of thinking is I have to look at myself every day when I get up in the morning, when I go to bed, and mm-hmm. I have to be able to put my head on my pillow with a good mind and a clean heart.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
If I can't do good, you know, my whole thing is I need to do good. I need to be, pay it forward. Mm-hmm. I try desperately hard to harm no one.
Yeah. And expect
I'll stand
this.
in my integrity.
Exactly. And expect this, because this is coming. There's going to be people jealous of you, and they will say and make up things that are not true. So expect that. Don't let that be like a pie hit you in the face. Expect that, because it's going to happen. Yep. It happens to men and women. So be prepared for that. Be mentally tough enough to say, okay, that's their opinion, and they're entitled to their opinion, but do not worry about their opinion, because you cannot change the way they think. Yeah. And don't worry about it, because it has nothing to do with the real you. Go ahead, Donna.
I like the terminology around that your opinion is none of me, is none of mm-hmm. my business.
There you go.
Right?
Exactly.
So as long as you're okay with you and you're going forward doing what you need to do, somebody else's opinion of you who may not like you or wants to put you down or whatever the case may be in a negative way is really none of your business. And when mm-hmm. you go about it in that manner, I promise you, it changes your energy and it lets you be able to just blow it off. And you're giving not only yourself grace to do that, but you're giving them grace, because maybe mm-hmm. they just don't know any better.
Mm. There's another young lady I want to speak about. She's the Queen of Jordan, Queen Rainier. Amazing young lady. She was born in August of 1970. She's the Queen of Jordan, and is the current queen because since she married Abdullah II of Jordan, she became queen. And what's really amazing, she didn't let that go to her head. She says, now I've got responsibility. Mm-hmm. I can help make this country a better place. And she's demonstrated that.
Oh, yeah.
And because she's focused on improving education and health in Jordan. In 2005, she joined hands with the Ministry of Education to launch Queen Rainier Award for Excellent Education and annual Teachers Awards. She respected what we talked about earlier, the teachers. And this is a prime example of how a lady in leadership can say, I'm going to make a legacy. I see some things out there that need to be improved on.
Yes.
There's some things here that the men are not seeing. Obviously, because it was a problem. But she took the initiative and she stepped up to the plate. And when you see something out there in your life, regardless of your age, whether you want to start a business, a nonprofit, or a cause to make your community a better place to live, the reason why that idea came to you, because you were the one that was pre-selected from a higher source to get the job done.
Right? That's where the energy landed, folks.
Yes.
Where the energy landed. So, don't be afraid. You're going to get, you know what? Also, for all the young women out there, and Jim, you and I know this, unfortunately, too well, but we're going to have some things that happen that just didn't work out like we wanted them to. They are lessons learned.
Yes.
Understand they are not failures. When you tell yourself you fail, you set yourself up for a negative energy flow.
Yeah.
It is always a lesson learned, because you don't learn unless something has gone wrong, right? So when you learn to cook for the first time, right? When we're little and we don't remember it, but when we're little, I promise we all fall down a lot more than we walk it the first couple times. And we don't remember that. But in our body, we know that we have to learn from falling down in order to walk. So it isn't a bad thing. And I think society, Jim, puts so much emphasis on if you fail, it's such a horrible thing. No, it's a lesson you're learning to find your success.
You're exactly right, because you cannot learn without going through tests and trials in life. And when that happens to you, and you as you travel down the pathway of life, make a list of what went well on one side, and on the other side, the lessons learned. Because learning from your lessons, that's what really enhances your growth.
Yes.
On all fronts. I mean, I forget who the speaker was, but I can't remember his name, but he said, I don't want to speak in front of a group of people that always pat me on the back. Hey, it was a great, presentation, yada, da, da, da. I want to be in front of those people, say, hey, why do you say this? Or what did you mean by that? Or I think differently about that. He loves challenges because he realizes that is a growth pattern for him to take his teachings and his presentation to a higher level. Otherwise, he's going to be flatlined.
Right. And one of the other things that I've learned in my life, Jim, and I know because we're partners and we're friends and we're family, you've learned it too. But as a woman, we tend to be more emotional, right? We're an emotional being in a different way that men are. One of the things I had to learn when something didn't go right, one of the things I've had to learn is how to step out of myself, right? And see how I'm handling that on an emotional level.
Yeah.
Because that's huge, because and it's taken a long time. And I shared this with you because it was such a breakthrough for me, folks. And I want to say it because if I can save you years of trial and tribulations on that, then you're just going to get there so much further. But I'll give an example. Say something's going on over here in my life, and I've got this in my business life, and then I've got this with, say, my family life. And one of them is causing me to be upset. And then something happens, a question or something comes up in another portion of my life, right? Another one of those hats that I wear. I can, because I'm an emotional person, I can oftentimes take the emotion from where I'm upset about something and put it into the other area. And that for me has been something I've learned to work on, to be
Mm-hmm.
able to step back and say, now, wait a minute. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Donna, you've got this going on and you're a little bit ticked off about it. But
Mm-hmm.
because of that, you're bleeding it over into
Mm-hmm.
another area of
Mm-hmm.
your life that you don't
Yeah,
need to.
that's
That
right.
is huge,
Mm-hmm.
Jim. That's huge, because
Oh,
that's
yeah.
when we screw up with our emotions and our energy from it,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
make a mess that there never should have been.
Oh, yeah. And that goes right into why I put Donna's email address up there, High Energy Right Now, because she was more than happy to give anyone 30-minute consultation to be able to see what's blocking their energy or what's upsetting them. And when you think about what Donna is talking about there and what she's learned and what she wants to share, this goes hand in hand with the 7 levels of truth that Bill Heinrich put in. And I'm just going to read this on the back. This book is for anyone seeking answers, solutions, and success in life. Our birthright is to have abundance, love, peace, and joy. And to be able to accomplish that, you got to be able to, as I like to say, don't let your highs get real high and your lows get real low. Keep
Right.
a more balance that.
More
And
balance.
yeah, and Donna can help you with that because she came, what created that course was her own personal life, what she went through. The day that she was diagnosed with the doctor told her, you've got MS. And right after that appointment, she was going right over to schedule her first of 3 brain surgeries for an aneurysm. So you can imagine the emotional roller coaster that created and the domino effect of those 3 surgeries. Because how long was it before you could actually, after the 3rd surgery, the first one was to see what it was or how big it
Right.
was. Second one was
Where
to
it was.
repair it. The 3rd one's make sure that it was repaired and fixed. But
Correct.
after that 3rd one, you had a long period of time of not being able to complete a full sentence. And I'm trying to
It
remember
was
how.
almost 2 years, Jim.
Mm.
And it was so frustrating.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I can imagine so, but she understood that there's other people out there going through that. So if you're going through trials and tribulations and something's blocking your energy, get in touch with Donna. Just email her at highenergyrightnow@gmail.com. She'll be glad to schedule a 30-minute consultation with you. And she will help. I know she can help you. And she'll be glad to do that. Also, too, if you got any doubt about your self-worth, we talk about this a lot too. The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale on YouTube. Please, 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 get that, listen to it. You don't, there's not a video. It's an MP3 with just a picture there, but just close your eyes, relax, and just let the words sink in, because some of the things shared in that, you're going to go like, are you kidding me? Yeah,
Right.
it's that good. And for you folks that may not have YouTube available in your country, you can also Google The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. It's available in a PDF form. You can download it. And I've done that too. It is verbatim exactly what is said on the video. And Donna, our time is almost gone, and we hadn't had a chance to grill the men anymore.
It is gone. But folks, you know what? Before we close out the week, we hope that this show finds you healthy and happy, and share it with somebody in your life who
you bet
is women in leadership who are looking to go there, or maybe somebody who's not understanding maybe their trials and tribulation.
And when you pick a mentor, make sure you pick someone that you would like to be like. And as far as giving back, because that is so critical, because the very first thing you got to do in life is love yourself and embrace the fact that you are worthy to be loved. A lot of people, men and women, don't think that they're worthy to be loved, and that's not true. That is a blatant lie. You are worthy to be loved. You need to love yourself first, and then you love others.
Yep.
And sometimes that love, you got to love them enough to let them go.
Absolutely.
Because if they're not positive energy in your life, they will drain you down. And, that's
like
just
a car battery.
Yeah, that's not a good place for you to be. It really isn't, because it just tarnishes your energy and it puts a roadblock up on your pathway of life where you're destined to go. And, in addition to that, as Donna likes to say, be sure and love yourself enough to forgive
Gi-
yourself and give
Give
yourself.
yourself grace.
Amen. Well, our time is gone, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. We'll be back next week. We're going to have Veterans Week. We're going to be bringing
Yeah.
on some veterans and various, in accords with our daily program. And we're looking forward to that. We sincerely hope that you and your loved ones are healthy, happy, and blessed in all areas of your life. We'll see you next